Okay, so where we were, to recap, I scrolled down to expense receipts and I went to payables homepage, and I see that $570.92 is owed. So if I click on this, say it's time to pay it.
So you only want to pay 300. No, you want to pay. Let's see. So you want to pay $350.
Okay, so $350. I would actually go like this. I would say, there's 245. I would pull up a little calculator. This is how I would do it, just because I'm splitting things into micro pieces. Like if you have a physical calculator, this might be faster than what I'm trying to do right here, but hoping my system will catch up with me. So I'm just going to pull up a standard little calculator that exists inside of the environment, just to kind of show you what we're trying to do, okay? So what did I start with? I wanted to pay a total of what?
$350.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
I just want you to pay a couple and get into one.
Okay, no problem. So 350, and then I would go like this. Minus 245.92 minus, okay, I've got $108, so I'm definitely going to pay for that one as well. Switch back to my calculator. Say, I think I already did the minus, so I'm going to minus 25. And then I'm going to go minus, so I've got 79.08. So watch this. I'm going to go with this guy and 79.08. Does that make sense, how that's totally going to add up to about a $300? And then I say pay. Now at this point, I've started a new page, okay? And it's going to say this expense is going to be paid in full, this one's going to be partial, and this one was going to be full. If I actually needed this little report for some other reason, I could print it off. But watch this. I'm going to come down, $350. I'm paying off these expenses, and I'm going to write a check. Matter of fact, I'm physically going to do one right here, and we'll find out exactly what we're going to do. Here's a check. It's pre-printed. So I'm going to say, this is my bank. I selected my bank. I'm going to enter my check number. It's 2287. Okay, I'm going to come down and I'm going to say, I'm just paying off stuff that was on account, so on splits. Okay, I'm going to come down. Which location do I want to do this for?
I did underneath.
Under me. Okay, perfect.
And I should have put First West, but you kept saying Pueblo, so I just did.
No problem. It was a bank. It's
Yeah.
okay. But
Okay.
basically, this is where money's coming out. I can even have a credit card and then another bank, and they don't even have to be the same. But it's fine, the scenario we're running. Okay, any other questions on this? We haven't actually done it yet, but virtually when I say commit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap all of this up, and we're going to do what's called splits. It's going to go back and say satisfy, satisfy, partially satisfy. Does that make sense how we're going to do that? And we say create the receipt. Click. So I now have a new one called number 5, and it actually paid for parts of 2, 3, and 4. So if I click on this, here's my new one, Pueblo. I'm going to pay him $350. Here's what it paid. Here's what this is for, and here's my check. Okay, let's actually print this check out, and then I will show you. While my printers, I just had to turn my printer on. I want to show you another thing that's kind of cool. Because we are paying subs, watch this. So here's the main. This is the new guy. Okay, this is the brand new one, number 5. Here's what I actually paid for. These were the ones that it was kind of attached to. Basically, kind of created some attachments, so it's going to actually pay that whole piece of the pie off. Okay, I think my printer is up and ready now. Let me just insert my check. So technically, according to the bank, it doesn't even know that I have $350 coming out of my my new account. Okay, they have no clue. I'm just doing my business. Okay, so I'm going to actually get back to that particular page that I was on, number 5, down here where it says print check. Hit print check. If you're doing it, you could even do it handwritten checks. You don't have to do it out of Adilas. And hit print check, and I want it to go to my, just make sure that I don't
Or
have.
you could select the EFT. You have it set up.
Correct, if you have.
Bank account that's the same bank as the card. Or.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the expense receipt. It's going to be printing out my check right here. I'll even scan it in so that you can see exactly what the check looked like. And Roxanne, thank you for prepping some of those expenses. That was awesome.
I have to see it, hear it, do it. I have to do it all.
Okay, just a minute. My computer's trying to catch up with me.
So you could essentially backtrack. you could, if you have a bunch of money that's sitting in your payables saying you never paid them and you really did, and it has to do with credit cards, you could go under your payables. You could, the only problem is if you put them all under, say, Wells Fargo, because that's where the funds come, then you're not going to be able to look for the names like, okay, I'm looking for, on my credit card statement, I'm looking for that Home Depot charge. You're going to have to more, like, just see what's there with amounts. Yeah,
Yep, by
amounts.
price.
And then you'll be able to backtrack and, like, reconcile your statements to current. Like that.
Since you're up to date, I just literally probably like Wells Fargo $1,200.
Instead of doing every statement, every
Okay, you could. One of the things that's going to be a problem is if you try to match that back to the bank,
Yeah.
you'll never see a $1,200 entry, even though that's how much you totally owe.
So you literally have to.
Well, it kind of depends. It depends on where that magic line is. Are you trying to go clear back to the start, say March, or are you trying to do it? Oh my goodness, I want to
No,
run from
going
today.
back, I don't know, maybe like a month or two. That's
Okay.
not too much.
Yeah, it's really not bad.
That's a lot, but
You may want to get Roxanne's number so
I was going to give you my card.
she can hook you up, okay?
That way you're not feeling overwhelmed about it because it really wouldn't be that much to catch up.
Anyway, I'm just going to quickly upload that so you guys can see the little check that I just scanned.
So where does it expense out to all the different chart of accounts?
Okay, correct. So what happens is on the originals, so watch this. Here's the little check that I just did, just so I can kind of show you that we printed out a little check. Okay, here's the check. It's for $350. It's going to Pueblo. It's tied to expense receipt number 5. Here's some of my other information. Payments made for 2, 3, and 4, etc. Whatever. Okay. Now watch this. Let's actually go to. Okay, what I wanted to show you. Let's go like this. One of them was number 2. Okay, right here, Roxanne put it under this type called I don't know. Okay, so technically, right now, if I pull my P&L, I will have something for $245 under I don't know. Okay, so technically, what it is because we were just trying to go fast, and we just showed this to Shannon, we actually hadn't gone in there and created the new one called supplies.
Yeah, I just want to make sure Shannon knew that there has to be a type there that she has to assign that expense to. She's not just going to type in whatever she wants. There's
Okay,
going to be a
good
type.
call, good call. Yep, and we can actually fix any of this.
types
Oh.
that are entering it into that.
Okay, so basically, here's where we assigned it to that type, and then eventually, when we got to 5, it ended up paying it off. So basically, in standard accounting, if you were looking for that entry, you have all of these that you're assigning to your different accounts, and at the very end, you make an adjustment against cash, or not an adjustment, but basically an entry against cash, which basically says, oh, I was actually satisfying things that were owed previously. Okay.
So now if you go in your payables, then it's going to show where you left off at that one that you partially paid. That way next time you do your next bank, your credit card statement or whatever, then you're going to probably pick up the rest of that. And because your accounting of how you pay it in here is going to be different of what they're paying there, you want to make it the same.
Now, why can't you just delete something?
You can void something. So what happens, you know how we were kind of setting up all these little cups and plates and stuff like this? Well, in your mind, you might be like, zap the thing. Okay, what happens is if you have all of these pieces and they're interconnected, like you can't just go zap because all of a sudden it kind of makes the whole thing fail. You can go, okay, void. Okay, don't really worry about me. I'm still here, but don't even count me. And then what happens is because you're moving over time, it stays there as part of the history. But it just is like, okay, don't count me. I don't exist. But we don't ever really want to go suck that right out of the middle. There are certain things that we allow to be sucked out. And there are other things that's like, whoa. You're totally dealing with interconnected relationships. And like, if I delete this, how's it going to affect? If I cause and effect type stuff. Yes?
If I haven't connected my expense receipt or something with anything else, then there's no real reason. I don't like to see voids either. I'll actually go back into edit main, change the person I paid, change the amount, change the day. I'll use it. I use all my stuff. I don't void. I rarely
I
void.
have tons of voided stuff in it, so there's no to go away, so it's not there.
If I'll go back in and I'll edit it.
Like the same thing over and over and over again, and you're
I'll-
like, which one is the right one?
I'll go back in it and I'll unverify it so that it's not saying it was seen anywhere. And then I'll go into edit main and I'll change it from Wells Fargo to King Soopers, and I'll change the date when it was really bought. I'll change the amount. I'll go into the line items. I'll change the expense type of how I expensed it. I change everything and use the same one. And even though your numbers in your filing, you may have some, because you know you file by numbers, which is also awesome, instead of all these other files, you know. But and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's in there. So even though you may have used a number because you didn't want it to be a void from way back in March and now it's July and you got it in July, it's all by numbers. You just need to reference it if you're asked for it, you know. I do that because those voids get on my nerves too. I go back and I use them. I just use them. Just go back and start using them for new stuff. If you're creating a new expense, go to an old void, make sure it's not connected with something somehow. And even if it is, I could walk you through like making sure it's not, as long as it's okay accounting wise, and just use it. That's what I do. Because I like it to all look good too and no voids.
So as you get more and more into it, like you'll have less and less voids, but it's kind of like you're throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it's going to stick. So it's kind of looking a little bit ugly. As it will happen, it will start cleaning up. Think of a rough ball rolling. It's all rugged and tangled and stuff. And as you get it rolling smoother and smoother, pretty soon that thing's going to be, you're going to be a machine, okay? Just cycling through it. So, Russell, did I see a comment from you? And speak up just so everybody can hear.
I don't know if it's applicable to what she was saying, but I would think one of the things you don't want to just delete things out of your files is you want to be able to go back and track your history. So say you did make all these payments, you don't want to zap something out of your history because then you'll never know exactly what you really did.
We're talking about the invoicing point of view. You know, you have some duplicates for the same things, and then like which one is right? How come none of these numbers are making any sense? You know what I mean?
Yep. Shannon, some of what your potential pain might be is it's just kind of like as soon as you get your internal processes down and just somebody kind of sitting and holding your hand, okay, sweet, now I know where I'm going, because it sounds like you're working very diligent and very hard, but potentially like kind of all over versus like a path. Adilas allows you to go wherever you want it to go, but eventually it kind of depends on what your end goal is. If that was your goal, sweet, you're good. If your goal is like, whoa, I kind of want it to look smooth and good and a standard process, that way I'm not getting duplicates and stuff like this, then you need to kind of slow down and figure out that process so that it flows in that direction. Awesome.
You can use all your voids, whether it's an invoice, whether it's an expense receipt, whether it's a deposit. I use all, I make it work and change it instead of voiding. Once you do it a couple times, you'll be like, oh, and you'll start cleaning up your own stuff.
So let me clarify. Okay, if you physically void it inside of Adilas, I'm not going to let you use it again. Okay.
Yeah.
However, if you know that it was a duplicate, you can technically, while it's still live, even though it says I'm this and I'm this, so you have duplicate 1 and duplicate 2. But duplicate 1, you leave it active. You don't physically void it, because if you physically void it, we kind of shut some stuff down on it. Okay. You leave it active and you just flip-flop it. You're not really to Sally. You were to Fred, and you were for this amount and for this amount. So like, virtually it's still live, so it's almost as if you're editing something. Instead of actually saying voiding it, you're just like, oh, just kidding. You actually needed to be these. And all of a sudden you have 2 independent ones that are running versus like a duplicate and a duplicate. And then if you void it, I literally lock it down pretty tight so you can't get back in to use something that you have voided.
And that's good too. I like that too. Because just go into all the stuff that you know. Maybe where you can start is go into all of your invoices, if that's where you're at, your invoice homepage. And when you see them duplicates and you know, okay, there's 3 of them and I know that one was it, go into all the other ones and change the amount to 0. And then when it comes up, it's going to say 0. You're going to know that's not right. So the next time you do an invoice, you go into one of the first ones and use it. You know what I mean? You could just start setting them as zeros. That way you know.
That sounds like recycling. No.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Okay, let's finish up this one particular question, and then Deb, we'll come right back to your comment, okay? So from the home page, I wanted to show you what we just did. We come down here, I'm finding expenses, I'm going to the payables homepage, I'm looking for Pueblo Bank and Trust. Currently it says I have 1 out, it's 300. I have paid $79 on that thing, and I still owe $220, okay? So basically this is that partial, and it'll just keep rolling on. And we'll just kind of keep picking it up as we need it because we actually already applied it. Because we have money going out of our bank, guess what? I'm now down to $2,150. We started at $3,000. So we're slowly kind of taking some pieces away from that. And I can reconcile that because there physically will be a check for $350 that will eventually clear. Okay? Does that make sense? Kind of how I just wanted to kind of finish wrapping that little piece up. But if you wanted to see us do one of the reusing things, we could even put in a...
Oh no, there's no way.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry, it's a great idea, but I still need to use this.
No problem, no problem. Basically, we're just trying to kind of help you understand what's going on. That's perfect. Deb, you had a question.
Yeah, and I'm just guessing, because seriously, I don't know, but I was thinking, so we've got a bunch of Walmart or whatever. Couldn't she create a PO to Walmart and just total up all her charges from there and then just balance it out from the payment that she paid to Wells Fargo to have some kind of very skeletal tracking or no?
Sure, you could do that for sure. It depends on which level you want to play at, okay?
Yeah, it's all on your
So-
preference of how you would do accounting and all on how your statements, bills, and things come in.
Ideally, you're trying to match it back to what the bank thinks because, like, technically, if you were to go get a loan, even though you have Adilas and it's doing all these cool things, they're going to want to make sure that your bank is matching your bank. So if you put in an entry for $12,000, Adilas is fine. It's like, sweet, I just got an entry for $12,000. And it'll put it where you tell it to put it or whatever. But all of a sudden, your bank, how are you supposed to match $12,000 back to your bank that has $10, $10, $20, you know, it's like, oh my goodness. Like literally, we call it drawing a line in the sand, but somebody like Roxanne could help you do that thing, but it just kind of depends on to what level you're playing with. Banks, once you get them going, you can just roll and roll. You can have multiple banks and have them rolling and rolling, but you kind of have to figure out to get those starting pieces. You can just enter in information like I did, where we said 3,000 starting value, go, but that's assuming nothing that was outstanding. If there was anything that was outstanding, we would have to kind of enter those on that magic line, or at least make sure that they showed up. So it was like, the bank shows that I have 3,000, but I know that I've already spent $400 and it's towards this, this, and this. I have to at least account for the outstandings. Anything else that's water under the bridge is water under the bridge. But if you have an outstanding, you have to kind of like help it pull itself forward. Otherwise, you will never be able to. Because all of a sudden, you'll see it on your bank statement. You're like, oh, now I have to add this, and like it gets a little bit funky. But we call it a magic line in the sand. Okay. Cool. Shannon.
Hey, Brandon, they can't hear all the questions that people are asking online, so they're wondering if when they're asked if you could just restate them.
Okay.
So I don't think they heard Deb's question,
Okay.
what you were just covering.
Okay. I can't even remember what we were covering either.
I can't really recap it either.
Okay.
Do you remember your question, Deb?
I do, but I don't think it was a good question. I mean, but I was just saying, because she's got all of these charges and she just paid them with one credit card, just to have some kind of basic understanding of where her expenses go, could she just create a PO, say to Walmart, add up how much she paid Walmart, and then attach that to her payment, her credit card payment, so she's got some kind of skeletal balance, basically.
You need
Yes.
an expense
So-
receipt, not a PO? What type of business is it?
She's a service-oriented business.
You said
She's
staffing or-
staffing.
Okay.
Temporary staffing.
It all depends on how your accountant does their accounting, really. I mean, it's your preference. If they're okay with, because let me just tell you this, like say I come into a business, you guys have been operating since January, but you get on Adilas in July. Some clients will really actually choose to enter in everything from paper, all their sales, all their inventory, all their everything from then forward and have a complete record. Some I could convince, let's plug in numbers, depending on what them and their accountant wants. We can plug in the numbers. As of June 30th, you have this much,
Towards
inventory on
supplies
that, you have this much, go off your bank statement and go off everything and just plug it all in. That way you're working forward. So it really just depends on what your accountant wants. Most accountants are going to want you to, like you said, you go directly with your credit card statement. It looks exactly the same in Atlas. You go directly with your bank statement. It looks exactly the same in Atlas. So that would mean going back and
No, and there's a way supposedly to import everything to an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. Which pieces did you want to export or check? Like there are.
Every single transaction.
Okay. So what you would want to do is you're going to want to have a little permission turned on, and it's actually called All Exports to Excel. Okay. It's basically under System Reports. If you come here, and you can come down here, check this out. Exports to Excel. What are we trying to do? Okay. So here's my my payments for expenses. I click on this. Okay, I want to just say, let's see what we got here. I'm just going to show you. We have just a few little pieces that are set up in this particular corporation. I'll show you. It's basically across from expenses and then on the payment line item. And I'm just going to kind of click. Go ahead and open that up.
Can you go back those couple steps?
Yes, I sure can. I will go back. I was just going to kind of show you.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
My bad. Okay. So let's do this right
I
here.
get it. I'm here.
Okay. So I currently am on my favorites. There's tons of different ways. This is actually some
Your
people.
favorites are my favorites. It's just the same interface.
Okay. Yep. Basically, all in all, we have to get to a thing called all advanced searches and exports.
Okay.
And once we get there,
Okay, I'm here.
here's a ton of exports to Excel. Okay. Tons of different parts and prices, and so I found expense receipts over here on this line,
Okay.
and then I started to come across, and I was like, you know what? I'm mostly worried about my payments. Okay. And so I clicked on payments, and then I said save or open, depending on what you wanted to do. So here's expense receipt 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, kind of. If I don't want all of these ones that are on account and all this kind of stuff, then what I would want to do is I would actually want to go in and detail it out more. So watch how I could detail this out. So I'm right here. I'm going to go to the advanced search, and I'm actually going to go all the way down to the payments, and I'm going to say I want from this date to this date. I want only this bank, and I only want my money type check. Just if you can kind of get an idea, you're whatever you wanted. And now I'm going to export this to Excel. Go. So because I applied a little bit more details, all of a sudden I have check numbers. Here's my checks. Here's my amounts. Here's who I paid. Like, this is an export right to Excel if you want. Like, literally, you're literally in Excel. So if you wanted to do this, you can grab your own details. There it is, $850. Like, say you had tons and tons, you could
So
actually.
can you do the opposite? Like if you have an Excel spreadsheet with all your expenses, can you import that into?
You can't. No. That's wonderful. That's awesome. But the problem is you start getting into
You
like
have to categorize it as
mapping and categorizing, and like say your Excel spreadsheet was different than Tommy's. It's like, oh my goodness, it gets a little tough that way. Okay, so I would say no on that particular instance.
Absolutely. You're
Okay.
going to be doing two things from now on. You're going to be working forward, doing it exactly how you know it should be done, and then you're going to be cleaning up. Exactly. You know, but that ain't going to last forever. But it's not. And then you're going to have a tight ship. Right now it is very loose.
Awesome.